All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Icy Railway podcast. Today, considering what I wanted to do for this particular live stream, we're going back to one of the older programs I used to use, which is Streamyards. Now, Streamyards is something I don't relatively like using, but for what I wanted to do today, it definitely works considering that I haven't been able to get OBS Ninja kind of set up. I kind of have a dual mic system that I'll need to use for that program. And so I decided, you know what, let's just keep things simple and go back to StreamYards so that way we can get this going. All right, so we got Mama Son Train Rail fans couldn't make it tonight, but she had to go. So thank you so much for dropping by, Mama Son Train Rail fans. We'll get you on the replay as well. So thank you so much for dropping by. We got Rail Fan K. Hello. Not necessarily a new opening. This is actually a much older opening because I'm using StreamYards for what I want to do today. We got BCF Parts. Welcome and welcome everyone who are lurking, who will look at this on the replay. Welcome, welcome. So with that, we've got and we got Chuck as well. How are you, good sir? Hill Country, South Texas. Yep. Welcome everyone. So hopefully everyone had a good Thanksgiving, a belated Thanksgiving. Hopefully you got all the goodies that you wanted from Black Friday. Black Friday was kind of, I don't know, hit or miss for me. There's some things I wanted, but it's like, I can wait till later. And if you guys are wondering why I don't have the camera on, well, the camera has been glitching with StreamYards. All the many different reasons why I hate using StreamYards. Not necessarily my program of choice, but it does have one convenient factor, which is bringing up guests. So with that, let's go ahead and just jump into that. So today for the National Model Railroad stream, I decided, you know what, let's do all about the people, because that's what makes this hobby so great, is that we can share stories, we can share what we love about this hobby. And so this is going to be one of the rare episodes that we can bring up you guys as well. If you want to join me, I will send the link here momentarily, and then you guys can come up and we'll just chill. I'm probably not going to do a long stream today, considering it is still the holidays. I'm pretty sure everyone's tired from the Black Friday shopping if you guys did that. But I will have a train running around today, and that train's going to be the Atlantic with my expanded Southern Pacific kind of Sunset Limited train, which we'll showcase here momentarily, and we will go from there. So with that, let's go ahead. And again, this model railroad, the hobby, the world's greatest sandbox hobby, it has some of the best people I've ever met when it comes to this hobby. And it's just one of those things that we can enjoy and have fun. So you know what? Let's use StreamYard so we can get you guys up here if you want to share what you have about the hobby, and we can go from there. So let's go ahead and I'll put the invite code here. So copy this. And let's go ahead and paste it. And then I need to make sure I pin it as well. Oh, come on. All right, let's take this. Let's do that. Awesome. All right, that's all set up. And let's go ahead and get straight to the point here. Let's get my settings. Let's get our multi-view camera set up. Now, one thing I don't like about StreamYards is that I'm very limited in my camera angles. That's why I love just using basic OBS. And one of these days we'll have the Video Ninja, which allows us to bring guests into OBS as well. But for now, we'll make do with what we have. So let's go ahead. Where's my capture card here? Of course, my capture card's not going to work. Yep, okay. Let's see here. I think I'll have to step on out real quick, guys. Give me 1 second. Okay. I think we're back. Let me check on a few things here. Okie dokie. Let me just check on a few things. Okay, you guys can still hear me, which is good. Go back to my settings, see if my capture card's gonna work again. Oh goodness, this is why I do not like Streamyards. I have so many problems with this. Okay, there we go. I want to stop messing with it because it looks like it's finally working. So go ahead and leave it there. And we'll bring up our first guest. All right.
Hello.
Hey, Real Fun K, how you doing?
Oh, doing great. What about you?
I gotta love the technical problems, that's for sure.
No kid. No, not surprising.
Yeah, StreamYards, I love and hate StreamYards.
Oh, I used to use it a lot before, but not really that much no more.
Yeah, I used to use it a lot too. And then when I discovered OBS Ninja, that's when it's like, yep, I need to switch everything over. But I still have some quirks to fix on behind the scenes.
No worries. I'll only use it sometimes if I can't use it because before, when I used to do live streams, I used to do it on my PlayStation 4, but I hardly done it in a while because of electrical problems.
Gotcha. Let me get the train running around here. So we've got our Atlantic, and then I actually converted a lot of my SP that I got from the National Model Railroad show in Texas, Grapevine, Texas. So I
Oh,
finally got those converted.
that is very cool, Victor. I really like it.
All right. So yeah, I got that rolling around. Cool.
Yeah.
And guys, I got the link. It's in the chat. So if you want to pop up as well, feel free to hit it, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, probably not gonna be a long stream, just
Oh,
because of the holidays. So all that good stuff.
no worries. I'll be seeing you on Sunday though.
Yep. I think they actually met on Thursday, but I don't know if anyone went.
I didn't go because I presumed that no one was gonna be there.
Yeah, I didn't go either because obviously I was eating, and then passed out. I was watching the football
E
game and just passed out after that.
oh. Wow. Yeah, for me, I'm just kinda, like, chilling because I had to do my work for 12 full hours.
Oof.
It was it was, uh it was okay, except, like, normally I was super tired, so I was like, "Please," I was like to myself, just leave." But I went through it surprisingly.
So for those of you who don't know who Real Fan K is, go ahead and talk about what you do on your channel. How do you get in the hobby? What skill do you do?
Alright, well, for me, I do HO scale for fun. I started filming trains this year in March after when I made my first visit to the train club. And that's how I got into more of the model train stuff because before I've been collecting model trains, I think since 2019, but I only have like a tiny layout and then a few engines before. And the engines I bought, oh my goodness, I could complain more about it because the conditions on them were so bad. But I got more engines over the years, and then I've so far my collection of engines went up to 9. However, when I joined the club, when I joined the Sandbar Club this year, I had to sell a few of them because the layout over there has DCC. But hey, I'm collecting as much as I can for DCC though. I got like 4 engines so far. Got more to come. So that's how I like the hobby so much. And then, a matter of fact, actually, I had a story that was originally going to tell, but I was like, okay, I'll tell you right now. So before the when I joined the model train back in the 2019, I used to have actually owned a little bit of a toy train set before, and it was a Tyco one. Except, however, I didn't really have it that long, and I didn't really have it that long. But it was
Yeah,
good memories though.
Awesome. Hello, Lynn. How you doing in the High Desert Model Railroad Club?
I'm doing fine. I didn't want to interrupt, so I was
No,
just
all good. Just glad you can
here and be
join us.
quiet.
Go ahead, real fan.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, that. So yeah, those were the days. But however, ever since I started collecting, I became more into the hobby, and I'm glad I'm a part of it. I'm really glad.
That's awesome. And that's definitely great to hear because everyone's got a story. So that was kind of the purpose of the stream, just to celebrate, you guys, the people who are into it, and we all have a story how we started, and that's what the great thing about the hobby is. We can share that, and people can learn from that. So, Lynn, how did you get into the hobby? I know you've been into it for a while.
Uh, well, I think like everybody else, when I was very, very young, my dad worked as a machinist for the Santa Fe Railroad in San Bernardino. So when I was probably maybe 8, something like that, he bought a Marx train layout, well, engine track, all like that. And up until probably when I was about 15, then I kind of got tired of it, started going on to other things. When my son was born, both of his grandfathers worked for Santa Fe. My dad was a machinist, and his mother's dad was a carman for the Santa Fe in San Bernardino. So they both started getting him all kinds of trains, and he wanted to push them around on the floor, which that didn't go too well. I had zero knowledge of track work, trains, anything like that. So as a novice, I just went out and bought every piece of snap track I could find, got several sheets of plywood, and just started making an empire of track that didn't do any good. Eventually moved out here to the high desert, and I met some guys over in the Victorville area that they were meeting at a train store, hobby shop, and they were building modules. And I was just kind of watching all big eyed, like, ooh, what's this? And they literally grabbed me and pulled me in and gave me some tools and started doing it. Within a year or two, I was the president of that club. Things happened, long story, make it short. I ended up dropping out, selling all my trains. And then eventually I ended up out here in Palmdale and went to a train show up in Bakersfield, the GHAM, those that know what that is. And I'm walking around and I see these guys in blue shirts that say High Desert Modular Model Railroad. I have no idea what it is, but it says High Desert. And got talking to one of them, and literally 2 guys grabbed me by each shoulder, took me over, introduced me to the club, and wouldn't let me leave for the show. Within 2 years, I was the president of the high. Then president, and vice president right now. I don't like being at the top because everything goes wrong, you get blamed for it. I don't mind being near the top. I had no idea what DCC was. Way back at the Victorville group, there was one member that was a member of the National Model Railroad Association, and he was pushing everybody to go DCC. And when we saw the costs, we just said, no, we'll stay with the analog. That was just fine. The High Desert group, though, is strictly DCC, and it didn't take long until the guys came over looking at this and going, we're going to make this DCC. And I was expecting big money, a lot of trouble, and 2 wires, and it's DCC. I had this little train, that one, running just before I came on live here, but it's so loud and everything, I just turned it off. It was really loud in here. Most of the volume on my trains are cranked up for shows, so you can hear them, but in the small room, it's deafening almost.
Yeah, it'll echo everything.
So anyways, so now I'm all DCC. I do have a few analog that I just bought because I thought they were interesting, such as this one. Little lady was selling off her husband's trains, and I had never seen a green train. So Someday it may go DCC, but for right now, it's analog. And that's my story in a nutshell. Then there's this monster here.
This is amazing layout you got back there. I love that mountain scene, Western theme.
I have to agree.
It goes up a ways too.
Now, is the bottom part and the upper shell part connected? I
No.
can't remember that. They're two separate?
Two separate.
Okay.
The lower shelf, really only the 4-axle, small steam engines like that, because there's a really tight corner back here. I don't know what the radius is, but it's way too tight. My wife that I'm married to now, today's her birthday, by the way.
Oh, happy birthday. Awesome.
Yeah, happy birthday to you.
She said, you can't have trains through the whole house, but you can have this room and do whatever you want with it. We were on a trip, and I can't show you the picture. It's buried behind stuff. And we saw this picture. I'm assuming Colorado, narrow gauge. And she goes, if you can build something like this, you can have this room. The original layout was only up to right about here. She was a school teacher at that time. She comes home from work and she goes, you said you were going to make this mountain. So the next night she came home from work and it was up to there.
That's awesome.
So it does have a 2.5% incline that goes up all the way around, following my finger, and comes down the backside, and it's an S because you have to have so many inches or feet per percentage to make it work. And the only way I could figure out to do that was, okay, so much track this way. And if you make it serpentine, you'll get your elevation, and it works. I don't run it that often. I got a little Climax sitting right there that's on it with the logging train. I run it once in a while. The disadvantage is on the backside going downhill, it starts picking up speed no matter what I do. And I have a turnout in the far corner over there. In the back there by the window, back in that area, that no matter how well it is aligned or anything, it has a tendency to derail there if I'm not watching the speed.
Right.
I run it once in a while. Mostly I just run the two. There's two tracks down here. Single line back over here, and then it divides right here and goes back around the mountain and on and on. Anyways, my biggest project right now is working on modules, and that's what the club is a modular setup. If you haven't seen my channel, you'll see some of the crazy stuff we do, like with aircraft carriers, space shuttles, you name it, we got it.
Yep, and I do have a link for Lynn McCurdy and the High Desert Module Model Railroad Club in the chat as well, so you can go check him out as well. Awesome content over there, especially with those modulars. I was able to see one of your shows way back in the day, so kind of give a little more context. Before we got here to Texas, I actually lived in California near the Santa Maria area, and kind of the same story as Lynn was talking about, was dragged into, found a club at Oceano, California called the St. Louis Obispo Model Railroad Association, and they basically took me in as well. Same with Lynn there. And it's like, yep, you need to be a member. We want you on your team and everything. And had a mentor there that showed me how to build these modulars, and actually bought a couple of modulars from him. And I got into kind of the mini-mo, free-mo standards. But ended up being the superintendent for that organization, and unfortunately had to move by then, but kind of the same upbringings. And, got into the whole YouTube thing and watching a whole bunch of other channels. Heath, from a lot of us here, know him, and it was there. Linda now is like, hey, we're gonna have the Tehachapi train show, and it's like, oh, that's about 2-3 hours away from me. Let me see if I can get there. And sure enough, I was able to get there, and we actually met, and I've got some footage of their modulars. Awesome display for sure. So definitely check that out.
I need to take a quick break. My wife, the birthday girl,
you do what you gotta do.
She needs something taken out of the oven.
Yep, go ahead.
I'm going to go do that, and I'll be right back. And then if you want to know, I can tell you about the upper level when I get back.
All right, sounds
good. Just a minute.
All right, and we got another folk here. We got BNSF Engineer. How are you, good sir?
I am doing well. Just I didn't know I could join, so I was like, "Oh, maybe I could do that."
Yep.
I wasn't expecting at the same time too.
It's kind of like a
Yeah.
Discord call.
Yeah,
It is
it
kinda,
pretty
except
much is.
it's called Streamyard.
Never heard of it before, so this is all new to me.
Oh,
Yeah, all good. Go ahead and experiment and go from there. A lot of the main YouTubers use StreamYards. I try to use OBS from time to time. But yeah, also guys, for context, for those of you who are watching, those who will watch us in the replay, Real Fan to my right is part of the Samurai Club, and then same with the BNSF Engineer as well. So you guys will see their locomotives on my channel, especially on the shorts from time to time. So BNSF Engineer has, I believe, the SP-MTF4, the cab forward. SPSF has got the Lego figurines and the pop culture trains, what we like to call at the club. So you definitely will see a lot of their featured engines on my channel. So BSF Engineer, how'd you get into the hobby? What scale do you do?
I took an interest in trains when I was only 6 months old after seeing things like Thomas the Tank Engine and The Little Engine That Could. And then after that evolved into seeing the real trains and watching videos of those. And I was just so like intrigued, especially by the steam engines with all the moving rods and the steam. It's just like, holy cow, this thing is basically alive. And I wasn't serious with the models until maybe about 10 years ago. And then I started actually getting into it. I do HO scale, and I have a little bit of O scale and a little bit of N scale. I'm trying to kind of getting out of those, though. Yeah, don't really know what else to say. I have a layout at home. It's just pink foam and unballasted track right now. It's probably not going to change for a while.
You know, as long as you have something that you're happy with and satisfied with, that's all that matters. I remember when I first started, it was the same thing, kind of what Lynn was talking about. I started with the Bachmann Easy Track with the floor layout, and that truly revolutionized how I did model railroading, and then finally graduated to the modulars here. But yeah, and that's the great thing about it, is that you can start wherever, whenever.
Yeah, it's great. I have to actually, I have two main lines, and I have to relay one of them because on the curves, the tracks are too close together. So when bigger engines and passenger cars go around at the same time, they snag each other.
Gotcha.
So really procrastinating on that. I don't really want to do that.
Yeah, that's understandable. I'm the type of person that I just love to see it go around in circles. Hence why I've got this circle here. But from time to time, I'll finally get scenery, get it balanced and all that. But I'm the same way. I'm just lazy when it comes to the scenery portion of it.
Yeah. Let me see here if I can turn my camera on because my computer setup is in the middle of the layout, just like it is on yours. So
okay. Yeah, take your time. There we go.
So you can see behind me, it's all just foam on plywood. Can't really see any of the trains. You can see a bunch of boxes, though.
It's all good. I see foam. I see track. I mean, that's really all we need.
You see, I can kind of pick the computer up. Oh, there goes the mouse. You can barely see it, but yeah.
Hey, that's not bad.
Yep.
Cool, Lynn. So you said you had a little bit more explanation on your mountain there?
Well, we were talking earlier about the upper track. It's not connected. Somebody talked about doing a helix, but that would take up so much room, and I am not that coordinated to get all the levels and everything. But I wanted to run some of my big trains, the larger diesels and the big steam engines and like that. And there's no way it'll run down here, not with that corner. And the reason for the corner, the wife, when she said, take this room and build it, she says, I want to be able to go back there and see what's going on. And back there is a dry riverbed. There's a miner down there, gold panning. There's bridges, all kinds of stuff in the back corner. Little N-scale structures to make it look like it's way back there. You know what? I think in the 10 years or so this has been here, she's only been back there once. But it's got the short corner, and I'm not going to tear it out. It looks good. It works. But the upper one is where I run the big engines. So if I want to adjust, check, make sure they're working, get any bugs out of the couplers, things like that, I run everything up above. That's for the big trains. And that one, almost have to give you a drawing. It's like a honey bun or a sweet roll. It literally goes in a corkscrew. So you start on one track and you go around and you end up on the second one. You go around, you end up on the third one. But they all cross over here and come back onto the first one again with sidings. And, it gets really complicated up there. It's kind of hard to see. I can't even see it in the screen, but there's big iron bridges on 3 of the 4 corners. So that's what's up there.
Yeah, we can get you a little bit bigger there. Yeah, you can see
it right there. Yeah,
top left.
And the rest is just storage and pictures and stuff like that.
That's pretty cool.
I want to correct something. When you came out and you saw me, that was a show for the Tehachapi Loop Railroad Club up in Tehachapi.
Oh, that's right.
And with several clubs, GHAM, Ridgecrest, and so forth, we all combine and get together. And they had asked a few of us, or whoever wanted to, because we just did a show 2 weeks before that, to bring some of the modules up and add to their layout. Now, Tehachapi, they pretty much stay at home. They don't like to go on the road. But they do 3-4 times a year set up their modules, and then we join them sometimes to make their layout a little bit bigger. And that's where you came up.
That's right. That's right. It was the 2 clubs combined. That's right.
Yeah, but like in Ventura, Grandpa Rails and D-Rail, Daryl, they came out. They got to see one of our, I'm going to call it minor layouts because of the size. If you go way back and look at some of the videos, like for the Fairplex and the Anaheim Convention Center, then you get into what we can really do. Those setups range from anything. Anaheim, the first time was 70 by 100 feet with 2 yards. Took literally 2.5 days and 3 clubs to help us set it up. And we have more than that now, because that goes way back. So we can go from really small to outlandish.
So how long did it take you from unpacking from your trailer to getting it to the showroom floor and actually getting fully operational? How long did it typically take?
Okay, the last show we did was at Ridgecrest. They let us set up the week before, then the show, and then take down the week after. The measurements were, I think it was 40 by 50, something like that. Not quite. It's in that neighborhood, 30 by 50, somewhere like that. We started at 9 in the morning, and we had trains running by 4 in the afternoon. But we had to come back and finish putting up all the scenery, all the little cars, the decorations, hook up the lights for the yard. We have yard lights, things like that. So depending on the size, usually 5 to 8 hours to set up. And takedown's a lot faster because you don't have to level the modules and do all of that. Usually takedown is on an average around 3.5 hours.
Yeah, I remember we were setting up in the Oceano Depot there in California. Leveling was by far the most time consuming when it comes to modular layouts. Even with this one here, I'm still trying to level everything from time to time. I find it things tend to naturally shift on you, so you're still trying to get perfectly level. So that's definitely the big struggle when it comes to modular layouts for sure.
We used to do the old tape measure. We had a measuring device that came over and laid down on the top of the track. So we'd run it along. We could see if it was level or not. We now use a laser.
That's something I need to try.
One of our members is a Finnish carpenter, and he has a laser. He sets it up in the middle, sets the height that we want, and then goes all the way around. And if we set the modules up, the tone goes from high to low. And when it goes to a solid tone, we know it's level. And we literally set them up, and it goes a lot faster. Putting the joiner track in now is the time consumer. Because we can level them pretty quick. We've got a new setup on our legs that they adjust real quick. Before you had to put a wrench on there and turn them back. Now we got a device that goes pretty quick. But putting all the little joiners in there, making sure you didn't get them up or over the rail, that is the time consumer now. But it still takes a lot, and it takes a lot of manpower too.
Yep, I definitely imagine that. So I guess as we roll into the next year, is there any models that you guys are excited for that's coming out that's caught your guys' eye?
I'd say the new Berkshires that Broadway's coming out with. They're not the typical design of like the 765 or 1225. They're the more obscure type that the Boston and Maine had, and they're also doing the Southern Pacific ones, and there's another, I forget what the other railroad is, but they're doing 3 different types.
Real Frank, did you have some?
Well, I'm excited for some new stuff from Scale Train soon, which is basically next year. Can't wait for the GP30s and probably the other locomotives.
Yeah, they had a killer deal, I think, for Black Friday yesterday and today with the GP30s. I think once you put in like a discount code, they were down to like 165. I don't know if they were DCC ready or not, but it sounded like a really good deal.
Yeah, I actually pre-ordered one a few days ago. I pre-ordered one a week ago.
Gotcha. Lynn, you were shaking your head there. Was there anything that caught your eye?
No. There are some things I wish they would come out with. I would love to see a affordable Santa Fe Blue Goose in HO with sound and all the bells and whistles. You can either get the cheap plastic, DC, or you can get the brass, which you're looking at over $1,000, and that's well out of my price range. That's one I'd like to see. The other one, I'll show you one. It's a Riverossi, but I'd like to see it in another, Athearn, even Bachman, if they could come up with something. A lot of people don't know what this is, but you see them every once in a while.
Oh, that's the German diesel. It starts with a K. I can never remember the exact name of them.
Cross Moffat.
The Moffats, yes.
I forget what the manufacturer's name is, but there is a manufacturer tooling up one of those brand new, like full modern details.
It's Pico with a K, P-I-K-O.
Oh, yeah.
Announced their run of those, but I don't think they're coming out with Rio Grande. I think they're coming out with ESP.
Well, I have the exact number of those that were built.
Oh, nice.
But I gave one of these to the train freak. He has it on his display board way down in the corner. I think he's trying to hide it. But really, I mean, the history behind it, this is the Etzel of trains. The engineers didn't like it because if you notice, the windows are curved in. So they had to lean way outside the window to see what was next to the train. They couldn't see behind. They could hardly see in front, and they definitely couldn't see next to it. And then
you would think with that design, you could actually see better, but it was actually the opposite. That's interesting.
Yeah, they couldn't see. And it was interesting. One of the first ones that the Rio Grande ran, they brought some of the German engineers over, in case there was a problem, and there was lots of problems. They were running them up over the Rockies, and the German engineer goes, "Wow, you have some steep mountains." And the guys looked at him, and they go, "We haven't got to the mountains yet. These are just the hills."
Yep.
And if I understand it correctly, they were experimenting like with a car. It had an automatic transmission. And that was the big thing, that they didn't have to gear down. It was German.
Yeah, I think it was hydraulic system, and that's what failed on them the most, especially with their truck system.
They failed. The engineers were afraid to even drive them because they had a drive shaft that went right through or underneath the cab. And it never happened, but the engineers are worried, like in a car, the drive shaft breaks and could kill them. It could tear the whole thing apart.
Jeez.
But they were constantly breaking down, had all kinds of problems with them. They only used them for a couple of years and scrapped them pretty much.
Yeah, let me see if I can find that Pico engine, because I know they were making a run. I just can't remember what variants they had.
And you can get these in brass too, but they're up in the thousands again.
Let's see here.
course, the brass one has a lot better detail than the River Aussie. Only thing I can say for the River Aussie, I run this one, or one of them I have up there. They're fast. There you go.
Yep. So that's their SP run. So 9000, 9001, and 9002.
If you go to their Facebook page, they have a post showing the pre-production model.
And they were there at the National Train Show too. Yeah. So it's only in the SP. I wish they would have done the Rio Grande as well.
Maybe next run.
Yep. And there you go. That's the River Aussie one.
Yeah, both of these I have here. Well, all 7 of them.
Oh, nice. So yeah, I'm definitely excited. I got one on pre-order, so we'll see how it is. I never had a Pico with a K engine, so we'll see.
Those look really cool.
Cool.
I've run some of these before, but as dummies. Not all of them I have are powered, or
okay.
there was mechanical issues with them, so I just took the motors out. And I've run them with regular Rio Grande GPs, Jeeps. So people that come to a show and they just see a train running, they don't know if it's got a motor in it or not. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like your drawbridge design. You got that fake dummy engine on that track, so it doesn't allow the kids to actually raise it up. So that's actually pretty clever.
I've had people almost scream. For those that don't know what we're talking about, we have 2 lift bridges for the layout. They're both 6 foot long. 2 feet of it is a lift, and glued to a siding is a locomotive and a boxcar. One is a passenger train, the other one's a freight, and the boxcar has our logo and everything on it. But when you go into the yard or inside the layout, these things lift up. Well, people just assume that train's going to fall off the track. Yeah, it's fine. It's there. But it keeps people out, too, so they don't mess with it.
Yeah, you guys definitely have a lot of great modulars. Like you mentioned earlier, you guys had a aircraft carrier, a battleship, modulars. Truly incredible.
2 battleships.
Oh, my goodness.
Space shuttles. We got a space shuttle taking off. It doesn't fly, but all the flames and everything come out.
That is amazing. So as we've been going through the National Model Railroad Month, you guys have seen on my channel a couple of videos just showing all different aspects of the hobby, from scenery to playing with engines to, today I think was the international trains. So with you guys, what part of the hobby do you guys enjoy the most? For me in particular, I love the rail fending aspect. I love running the train around in circles, being an engineer. Other people like scenery. Other people like scratch building kits. What do you guys like about the hobby the most?
Probably for me, I probably like just like running trains for fun.
Okay. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I do it all the time.
Yeah.
What about you, BNSF Engineer?
For me, it's a combination of running them just to enjoy them, and also giving them little modifications. Because sometimes when the manufacturers make the engines or cars, they're all to one design or prototype. So each, like how in the real world, each different engine had a different part or it looked different. So it's fun to add those little differences to it. Like, for example, on the Broadway Limited 4014s, the excursion versions, they don't have the dual dynamos or the antenna on the cab. So I changed that and put those on mine. So I think it looks a lot nicer.
Awesome. Did not know that. Lynn, what about you?
I was waiting for this. Well, I'm very bashful, and I love going to the shows, showing the stuff off. I do like running the trains, circles, or this sort of stuff, or even ops. I've done a couple of ops. Those are kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want to do them all the time, but a few times they're interesting. I like the scenery. As you can tell from this, although this is kind of a desert, but if you've seen my modules, and I think you have, mm-hmm. I get kind of into that with lights and animation. But more than anything, like I was talking about these 2 locomotives, The history. The history behind it. I have the 3752, not the 51, which I've seen. My dad even worked on it when he worked at the railroad. I like the history behind the locomotives. The backstory a lot of times is really interesting. I don't know if you saw the video that I put out a while back. We were coming down from Oregon into Northern California on 395. 395 is an old highway, goes right through the middle of California and the corner of Nevada. And we came across a small mom and pop railroad called the Goose Lake Railroad. And it comes out of Oregon into California, not very far, and then joins up with the UP. And here was these really well-used smoking GPs. One was blue with the lettering on it, GOOS, and the other you could definitely tell was an old Union Pacific locomotive. And I started down the rabbit hole looking up the history, and it went clear back into the late 1800s when it was a private railroad built from Reno, Nevada up and was supposed to go all the way to Seattle. It never made it.
Wow.
It did go into Oregon, and then it failed. Southern Pacific took it over because of mining, timber, things like that. Southern Pacific, then it was sold out to the UP. UP was not really interested in this little short line, but there were so many businesses in the area that they literally put their money together and bought it from the Union Pacific, and they still run it. There's even more modern history about it, but I won't get into that because it almost gets political. But their biggest customer up there is a mine in southern Oregon, and it's not maniculite, but it's one of the additives that nurseries add to soil for houseplants. And they literally mine this stuff, they heat it up, and it works like popcorn, and it holds moisture and so forth. And that's what they put into the soil to keep the soil damp. And they mine this stuff. And then the little video, if you look it up, here's these cars with this kind of yellowish orange stuff in there. And that's the additive for soil. And it's one of the few places, at least on the West Coast, that does this. So that's what keeps the railroad alive.
Yeah.
The political part was when we drove by, we had no idea what it was. It looked like something from Star Wars, but some company was started to make some sort of energy efficient batteries. It failed. They couldn't make it work. Government gave them a lot of money. Oregon gave them way too much money. They built all this. The railroad was going to make a big profit off of hauling all of this. They were going to upgrade everything, and the whole thing tanked this year. So,
oh my gosh.
So there's a big waste of money up there. But the railroad still goes. It hauls cattle. It hauls some grain. There's a lot of agriculture in the area. So it's interesting, a little railroad like that in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and you mentioned something that was pretty interesting about, when it comes to the hobby as well, is that looking at the history and looking at the backstory, BNSF Engineer, you took the real life 4014 and implemented it into model railroading. And then same with you, Lynn, you took the history of it and was able to get inspired by it. And definitely one of my videos coming up is called about inspiration, and things that allow us to keep going with the hobby. So Lynn, you described the history. It definitely sounds like something that helps you continue on with the hobby. RayronVR and BNSF Engineer, what keeps you guys going into the hobby?
So it keeps me going just because it's really a fun hobby to me, and plus, along with some other locomotives coming out with perfect details on them, it is really keeping motivated to continue on with the hobby. And then, matter of fact, too, I forgot to mention is that if it wasn't for the hobby that I'm enjoying right now, my channel would my channel would not become that little bit of a profitable. But I am thankful though with the hobby though, because they actually helped me out. And also too, not to mention, it helped me learn a little bit more about it.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, BNSF?
I think for me, I keep enjoying it because of the people that I meet in the hobby, like other people at clubs like you guys and the other club like the Transportation Museum. So you meet a lot of nice people and you get a lot of friendships out of it. And also just the overall enjoyment about like seeing how much is progressing through what individual people are doing, like on with their layouts, and how the companies are innovating with putting features into things or everything new that just keeps happening. It's interesting to watch, really.
Yeah, and you mentioned, for me personally, what keeps me going is you guys, and just with YouTube and the internet, with the rise of YouTube, with the rise of our community here on YouTube. We're able to go to places that I may not be able to go to in my life. Like I can see railroads on the East Coast. I can see railroads internationally. You know, we got Artie over there in Australia. We've got all these other YouTubers that are doing things that I may not be able to go to. And the fact that we're able to get connected and see all of these awesome details and layouts and so forth is just a great thing to see. And that's definitely something that I'm passionate about when it comes to model railroading. So it's definitely really cool to see.
I've got kind of a strange story related to what you're talking about. Because I'm in the Mojave Desert, and we got Bakersfield, we got Barstow, we got Mojave itself. A lot of the pictures from several years ago that I posted on Facebook and things like that, even before YouTube, had a man reach out to me. His name is Mark. I won't give his last name, but he's in the UK. And he says, I love the Mojave area, the desert. He says, there's just something about it. He says, in business, he's one of the executives for Hewlett Packard. So he's got a little bit of this.
Oh, wow.
But he says, I come out here, I take pictures and everything. And he says, I've got a small HO club. And he says, that's what I model is the Mojave. But as I got to know him, he has a second hobby in the railroad combination. He owns 2 full-size operating locomotives. And he operates them. He runs them.
That's insane.
He works on them. He fabricates the parts for it. They look like Thomas the tank car engine, but they're real. They operate. And the government in England is a lot more liberal than here, and they let him operate. And then he knows people that have passenger cars. So to kind of offset the cost of all of this, they go on excursions from just outside of London all the way up into Scotland and back. So people pay to ride on the cars. But it's interesting, when he's going down the track, of course, there's speed limits and all like that. If there's a turnout, he literally has to stop the train, get out, put out a flag or something like that, and go out there and hand crank the turnout. Get back in the locomotive and go on with it. Because England is phasing out all of their trains, but they're not pulling up the track. So there's a lot of old, somewhat, I guess, safe track to use. Like I said, there's speed limits, everything else. But here he's got these 2 locomotives. He's always showing pictures of it on Facebook and going out for a ride, or, something springs a leak and he's got to go manufacture the part for it, because he says you just can't go down to the hardware store and buy some kind of injection pump or something like that for the locomotive. And it's like, must be nice. Expensive, but must be nice.
Yeah, trying to machine all those parts, I can just only imagine. It kind of reminds me of just working with a friend I had in California that was with the 7.5 gauge railroaders. And it's like, yeah, if you want to replace an axle, replace a part, you got to go to a machine shop and mill it yourself.
Yeah.
So it's kind of incredible.
My dad is a machinist in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. They didn't go out and buy parts for the locomotives. He was a machinist. He made the part.
Yeah.
And, before they had roller bearings, they were solid brass bearings that the guys machined it by hand. He told me when he was an apprentice, back to the Germans, that the instructor was a German, and all the apprentices or students, first day, they gave him a block of brass, if you can imagine. just crude, big block of brass, and a file. And the instructor told him, he says, when you can make a perfect cube, then you go on to the next part of the class. And my dad said for weeks, all they did was file on this thing. Now, it didn't have to be a certain dimension, but it had to be the same dimension all the way around, a perfect cube. And it had to be perfect. And they had their calipers and they would measure and all like this. And one by one, okay, I got it ready. They take it up to the instructor. He would pull out his calipers, take it, throw it in the trash, and give them another lump of brass. My dad said within 6 months, better than half the class had dropped out.
My goodness.
But he was able to do it.
Yeah, and kind of just to showcase, kind of backtracking a little bit to your modulars here. Again, I left a link to all of these wonderful fine people on the YouTube channel in the chat. Right now, we're going to take a look at Lynn McCurdy's couple of modulars here. So this one I really enjoy because, again, it kind of highlights why I love model railroading and just the community and the people behind it, because we always share what we do in the hobby. We share our knowledge. We share our stories. And so I love this module. You basically have, you can go ahead and talk to it if you want to there, Lynn.
Okay. It's really just one of our corner modules. We have 6 of this size and 4 of a slightly smaller. We like the bigger because the curve and everything's better. I just got on this kick. I started making these billboards for different YouTube people like Heath from Human City and the Train Freak and so forth like that. And then actually started meeting some like I don't know if you can tell, the one between Back on Track and B&M. That's Tina Marie from Las Vegas. She just bought the train store, the only train store in Las Vegas. She is also a super computer geek, and she owns a radio station out of Vegas. And so that was one of the first ones I made. In the back, you see the flags here, American and Australian flag. That's Artie from Aussie American Railroad.
Yeah.
Way over there is some guy named RayronVR. So, but these get put on different places. The billboards are not particularly a module. I just, wherever there is a blank space, I set them up, which this corner that doesn't have bridges and gullies and everything, it's ideal for setting these up. And first time I did it, some of the club members were kind of like, what are you doing, Lynn? What are all these signs and so forth? And it's kind of blurred, but there you are.
Free advertising.
Yep. I need to make you a larger one. That one's too small. There's even Roy from Panama. H&H is on there now from the Netherlands.
Absolutely. Absolutely great idea for sure.
The response from this has grown to the point that people are looking for it. There's one of the 2 aircraft carriers.
And like I said, me talking about it does not do it justice. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because if you look at this aircraft carrier, it is just stunning to see. I would say it's like 3 to 4 modulars by itself, I would say.
That one is 10 foot long, and that's the scale.
Oh, my goodness.
It's handmade. It is not a kit. The planes are kits, but Jimmy Doolittle bombers you see right there, the propellers actually turn. They're motorized.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know that. Absolutely.
But then incredible. He has 2 battleships. He has the Arizona and the Missouri. Those are only 9 foot long. Then he has a whole bunch of the smaller crafts. That's his space shuttle. When that thing is activated, you get the countdown, you hear the rockets, and then the smoke and everything on the side lights up as flames are coming out of it.
That's amazing.
And the reason we have this is that was built in Pawndale, the real one.
Oh, wow. So yeah, modulars, that's incredible that you're able to have this detail, keep it somewhat together, and tear it down, move it, store it. It's just incredible. Awesome. And I did post a link to that video in the chat, so if you guys want to take a look at that video, you got it right there, ready to go. All right, gentlemen. So we're approaching the 1 hour mark. I didn't want to go too long with this, considering it is the holidays, and we'll go ahead and start wrapping it up. So with that, if you guys want to promote your channel, go ahead. And what you guys got coming up? We'll start with Railfan K. What you got?
Just want to say that keep on what you guys do, with your guys' life, as well as model railroading. Like, enjoy the hobby.
Awesome.
Yeah.
BNSF Engineer, you got anything coming on your channel?
Just whenever I feel like it, really, I'll post clips from the club. Maybe a clip of rail fanning here or there, not so much, but there's no real schedule. But if you want to see model trains and some real trains, go check it out.
Awesome. Yep. And then, Lynn, you got anything coming out?
I've been posting some from the last show at Ridgecrest. And that's for the one you just posted there. I've got probably a dozen or more videos. I'm trying not to put them all out at the same time, but I'm going to be taking a break from the internet, YouTube, and everything else. Stepdaughter paid for a cruise that we're going to be leaving Wednesday for the Caribbean. Be gone for about 12 days, come back for 2 days, and then we're going on a 1.5 month long cruise. I don't know if you want to hear about this. We're flying to Argentina.
Oh, wow.
Getting on a cruise ship to Antarctica. So we'll be spending Christmas and New Year's and the first of the year going around the Straits of Magellan. That's going to be fun.
Oh, wow.
End up in Chile, and we'll be back sometime mid-January. Then I'll get back to posting videos. We got a couple of shows in the works. What we're really looking for is the National Model Railroad Association convention in Long Beach in August of 2024. And we're trying to get our foot in the door that we're going to be there with the ships and all the really good stuff. So that's what we got going on.
Yeah, and if you guys, for a little more context too, that's the one I went to in Grapevine. So that's a traveling national convention by the NMRA. So they're going to California. So yeah, Lynn's going to be hopefully all over that. So if you guys want to check out the National Train Show California, you can go ahead and subscribe to his channel as well. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on. Happy National Model Railroad Month. Happy belated Thanksgiving, and we'll see you guys later. Take it easy, everyone.
Bye.
Yeah, see you later, guys.